if I told you that right now, somewhere in the world, someone is paying $500 for a watch that costs just $50 to make, and they have no idea it's a fake? They didn't buy it from a shady street corner, the weight felt right, and the logo looked perfect, and yet it's a complete illusion. Today, we're exploring the shadowy world of replica watches, and trust me, what you're about to discover will absolutely blow your mind. So, let's get started. The replica watch industry is larger than some of the most legitimate watch brands combined. Here's something that will absolutely shock you. The replica watch market has produced 40 million watches over the years. On the other hand, the Swiss market has delivered half of that size in the market. Every single year, millions of fake watches flood the market, deceiving unsuspecting buyers who believe they're getting authentic timepieces. What's even more alarming is that these replicas aren't just cheap knockoffs anymore. Some are so incredibly sophisticated that even experienced collectors have been fooled. The scale of this operation involves organized crime networks, international smuggling rings, and production facilities. According to Europol, a criminal organization produced and imported fake luxury watches to Antwerp's Diamond District, and after the successful arrest, 165 fake luxury watches were confiscated from them. Not just that, according to the Federation of Swiss Watch Industry, FH, fake luxury watches make up around 9% of seizures every year, and the numbers are really alarming. And when an industry grows this large, it raises a more uncomfortable question. Why are so many people willing to buy fake luxury in the first place? Replica watches aren't just about deception, they're about fulfilling a dream at any cost. Let's talk about the real reason people buy replica watches, and it's far more complex than you might think. It's not always about bad intent or dishonesty. For many people, a genuine Rolex Submariner costs $10,000 to $15,000 or more. That's the price of a car. For someone earning a modest income, that's completely unrealistic, yet the desire to own that iconic watch, to wear that symbol of success and sophistication, burns strong. Replica watches offer a psychological escape hatch. They allow someone to wear the Rolex logo, to feel the weight of a luxury watch on their wrist, to experience that sense of status and belonging to an exclusive club. People convince themselves that just this once, or nobody will know the difference, and before they know it, they're investing in a counterfeit that will likely fall apart in a few months. Once that desire takes hold, the next question becomes obvious. How do counterfeiters actually turn that craving into something that looks and feels so real? Some fake watches are manufactured with such precision that even the original makers would be impressed. Now, here's where things get genuinely interesting from a manufacturing standpoint. The production of high-quality replica watches is nothing short of an engineering marvel. These aren't just painted pieces of metal thrown together in a basement. Top-tier counterfeiters employ skilled watchmakers, invest in state-of-the-art machinery, and spend months reverse engineering authentic watches down to the microscopic detail. They study the movement mechanisms, the materials, the finishing techniques, and the assembly processes with obsessive precision. Some counterfeit factories operate in countries with weak intellectual property enforcement, allowing them to operate openly with minimal legal consequences. The level of detail is staggering as they replicate the serial numbers, the holograms, the specific wear patterns on the case, the exact shade of the dial printing, and even the feel of the movement. In some cases, the movement inside a high-end replica is indistinguishable from the genuine article. The craftsmanship, ironically, is often remarkable. Workers spent hours perfecting bezels, hands, and dial markers. Quality control processes ensure consistency batch after batch. It's a testament to human skill, unfortunately directed toward fraudulent purposes. And this is exactly why so many people fall into the trap, because what you're seeing here is only the surface of how deep this deception goes. Sounds interesting so far? Well, if you're curious to see how deep this discussion goes and how you can even be fooled by the replica watches, then take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now, not all fakes are created equal, and understanding the tiers is essential knowledge for any watch buyer. Here's something many people don't realize. There's actually a hierarchy in the counterfeit watch world, and knowing these tiers could literally save you thousands of dollars. At the bottom of the pyramid, you have what collectors call fantasy fakes. Absolute garbage watches that look nothing like the real deal. You'll find these on street corners and sketchy tourist markets, often sold for $20 to $50. The dial is obviously misaligned, the logo appears to have been drawn by by a toddler, and the watch will stop working within a week. Now moving up, there are mid-tier replicas that sell for $100 to $300. These are noticeably better, the branding is clearer, the mechanics are more reliable, and they'll last longer. But to a trained eye, the flaws are still glaring. The case finishing is off, the hands aren't quite right, and the movement sounds slightly different. Then you enter the realm of super clone or one-to-one replicas, which sell for $300 to $800 and are where things get dangerously close. These watches fool most people. The materials closely match the original, the movement operates smoothly, and the finishing touches are meticulously done. At the very top, you have what's called Swiss movement replicas or genuine movement fakes, which contain movements taken from actual Swiss watch manufacturers. Sometimes even legitimate movements assembled into counterfeit cases. These can cost $500 to $2,000 and are nearly impossible to distinguish without expert examination. The existence of these tiers explains why detection is so critical and why even knowledgeable people sometimes fall victim. But while these tiers confuse buyers, they also create serious consequences for the brands being copied. Replica watches don't just hurt consumers, they directly undermine the entire luxury watch industry's ability to innovate. Let's shift perspective for a moment and talk about the impact on the watch manufacturers. Rolex, Omega, Patek Philippe and Cartier are the most copied watch brands, and the scope is really big. For every Swiss watch, the fake industry is making 2, and there are 40 million fake watches produced every year, which is double than the Swiss production, and according to estimates, these replica brands make $1 billion profit out of them. That's why this is impacting the entire luxury watch industry. If we have a look, then Rolex and other prestigious brands invest millions into research and development each year. They hire master watchmakers with decades of experience, fund educational programs, innovate in material science, and push the boundaries of what mechanical watches can achieve. When counterfeiters copy these designs without compensation, they're essentially stealing decades of accumulated knowledge and craftsmanship. Beyond the direct sales loss, these replicas erode brand trust. When consumers unknowingly buy fake watches, they often have poor experiences. The watch breaks down, the movement fails, or the case deteriorates. But here's the tragedy. They blame the brand. They assume Rolex quality is overrated, or that Omega watches don't last, when in fact they purchased a fake. This destroys brand reputation and consumer confidence in the entire luxury watch market. The ripple effects of the fake watches extend far beyond the obvious victims and reshape the entire industry landscape. And this damage brings us to the heart of the debate. Does buying fake actually save you money, or does it quietly cost you far more? Is a fake watch a shortcut to fortune, or are you gambling with your money and reputation? Let's break down the fake or fortune debate. The question seems simple on the surface. Is buying a replica watch a financial move that lets you enjoy luxury affordably, or is it a losing game that costs you far more than you realize? Here's the interesting reality. It's both, depending on how you look at it. From a pure financial perspective, if you're judging by immediate cost savings, sure, spending $200 on a fake instead of $10,000 on the authentic looks like an absolute fortune saved. But flip that equation around, that replica will last you maybe 2 to 3 years before the movement fails, the case tarnishes, the dial fades, and it becomes unwearable. So you buy another fake for $200, then another and another. Over a decade, you spent $800 to $1,200 on watches that are all broken and sitting in a drawer. Meanwhile, someone who bought an authentic $2,000 watch still has a fully functional, beautiful timepiece that's worth $2,000 or more on the pre-owned market. They made money, you wasted money. From a fortune perspective, the authentic watch wins every single time. But let's flip to the other side of the debate. Is there a fortune in fooling people? Some counterfeit buyers justify their purchase by saying nobody will know the difference, and there's a certain seductive logic to that. Imagine walking into a room wearing what everyone thinks is a $12,000 Rolex, but you only paid $300. That's psychological fortune and the status without the price tag. But here's where it gets dangerous. First, people who know watches will notice. It's embarrassing, humiliating, and destroys credibility instantly. Second, you're constantly anxious, paranoid that someone will spot the fake, worried about being exposed as a fraud. That's not fortune, that's stress. Third, if you're caught selling or trading a counterfeit as authentic, you face legal consequences and permanent reputation damage. Is that fortune? Absolutely not. The real fortune paradox is this. Authentic watches are expensive, yes, but they hold their value. They work reliably and they give you genuine pride. Fake watches are cheap, but they die buy quickly, drain your wallet repeatedly, and haunt you with the fear of exposure. When you truly analyze the situation, there is no fortune in fate. The only real fortune is in making the conscious choice to either save for authenticity or invest in quality alternatives. That's the fortune that makes financial sense, psychological sense, and moral sense. Understanding this paradox changes everything about how you approach watch purchasing decisions. So there you have it, the complete shocking truth about replica watches. From the staggering size of the market to the manufacturing processes, we've covered the entire landscape. And if this video provided a much needed insight, then stick around with us because our next video is on Beyonce's watch collection. And believe me, they're definitely not replicas. See you there.